Hello, everybody. So this is the inaugural Positive Vibe show here on Project Positive Change. You know, I'm one of the visionaries in Project Positive Change. I'm here actually with a couple of my friends here, Catherine and Agnes. We're going to be talking about this. The show today is about focus, really what focus is and why it's important. So this, like I say, is our first show here of Positive Vibe here for Project Positive Change, which is a dynamic group of people that are really change makers out there in the world. And I thought it was really important for us to really get together in this time and really show others why, why we're such a dynamic group. I mean, I think that we really kind of need to get out there more and really talk about some of the core things that really are important in this world. And to me, I think focus is one of the most important things here. I'm just going to kind of start off here. I'm going to talk to Agnes. Agnes is here with us, and she's agreed that she would kind of go first and really hopefully talk about what focus is to her, why it's so important. And I think she's also going to be talking for one of our members who couldn't make it today, Sandra, and what she wanted to contribute as well. Agnes, how are you doing today?
I am absolutely fine and thrilled to be here as a guinea pig. First show. So, you want me to go through all of that in one go now?
Sure, you can, however it feels good to you.
Okay, no, that's fine. I thought you wanted me to introduce myself first and then...
Oh, yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are.
Mm-hmm. Not a problem. So my name is Agnes van Rijn, and I am, technically French from Dutch origin, but I am living in London for 2 years now, and I enjoy every minute of it. I'm a reinvention mentor. I work with successful professional women who are caught in a rat race and who actually want more from their lives than money only. So that's what I do. I have a very holistic approach that covers mindset as well as personal branding and personal effectiveness. And so, what is focus? Well, for me, focus is absolutely an essential component of wanting of achieving what I want to achieve. So if the starting point is a vision, I know what I want to achieve. Well, what am I doing on a daily basis to not end up being caught in all the distractions that are there all over the place, including shiny objects type of things. And so how do I ensure that I actually focus on whatever it is that will help me move closer from achieving that vision? That's for me what it's about, and there are multiple ways to look at it. And I have part of what I will be talking about today is I would say almost my corporate background, some very practical things also, because a business is a business also. So that is that. And I am currently launching, because personal branding is at the core of what I do. And so I'm launching, I literally launched it yesterday, soft launch, an online 3 months program to help people create their own brand, so their personal brand. I call it Step Into Your Brilliance, to create the authentic personal brand that your clients will love. And yes, talking about Sandra Pilarczyk, I'm so disappointed she isn't there, but I suspect that she's even more disappointed than we are. I've known Sandra for quite a few years now, and Sandra has had some very interesting impact on my life, because 2 years ago, I think it was, I was running a program, a Blog Talk radio show. As a radio, I was having a challenge in terms of visibility. I was clearly hiding, and that is when Sandra launched her very first, I think it was 7 days back then, visibility challenge, and I took it, and I instantaneously, turned my show into a video show, and have embraced my visibility since. And why I'm mentioning that is that Sandra, if she would have been on the show, I know that she would have been announcing her next visibility challenge. So if that's okay, I would like to indicate that. So if you go to www.fearlessandlife.com/challenge, that's where she will tell you everything about her visibility challenge, which is in particular for people who are introverts. So yeah, that's it. I can't say what focus is for her. That's a discussion Sandra and I have not had, but I wanted at least to mention her challenge.
Nice, absolutely, that's perfect. And I think you mentioned a lot of great things, especially like the shiny squirrel moments that we all have. And I guess for me, I always think life is about constant change, which I love that we're Project Positive Change. But it's really, are you going to be the one that's going to be changed, or are you going to be the change maker? And I think that's why focus is so important, because it's really, you can listen to all the noise and the sounds that are going out there. I mean, I don't know how it is in Europe. I know for Catherine and I here in the States, there's just so much right now. It's just, you could just get down all these little, all these little mole holes if you wanted to, just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? But at the same time, I really believe that, we make really our own world. We make really our own universe. I mean, I see this world as a very holographic type of universe. What I mean by that is that you can find out about the whole thing by looking at any one part, but there's also kind of two sides to it as well. It's a yin and a yang universe, so it depends upon which side you're going to look on. You're going to look on the opportunity side, you're going to look on the challenge side. And once you stay focused on either one of those, that's really where you end up going. I always talk about the the reticular activating system. You all ever heard of the reticular activating system? So you probably have. And it's a part in the brain that really decides what you're really going to bring into your thinking center. And because we're surrounded by billions of points of data at any one time. So how does the brain decide what we're going to actually notice? And it's by the reticular activating system going out there and finding all those points of data that really correspond to what we're focusing upon. And the reticular activating system puts no value on any certain piece of data. So to it, an opportunity is the same value as a challenge is. It's just depending upon what we're focusing on, what will go into our thinking brain, then where we're actually able to really move from in that space. Because whatever is up here rambling around is all the data that we have to really move forward from. So I think that's why it's so important what we focus upon. And it's not about ignoring things. It's about approaching it from the right viewpoint. If you go from the idea of once you've set your goals and once you've sent sort of your, I guess, mandates. I don't know if that's, but I'll go ahead and use that strong word. Why not? Once you set those mandates of this is how I see this really turning out, then it's not like you turn away from any one aspect of your life, but you approach it from the idea of, I already know this is what I'm going to get out of it, or this is what I see in this. And when you approach life from that point of view, rather than from the point of view of really beating you over the head with a stick, you know what I mean? You're entering into that space in two completely different energies. So Catherine's here. I'm going to let Catherine introduce herself and then perhaps talk a little bit about what focus means to her. How are you doing today, Catherine?
I am wonderful, Pete. So glad to see you again.
Yes.
Yeah, so I love what you just described, because that was a great lead in to what I do. I call myself a change catalyst and a transformation coach. And my focus is on limiting beliefs. So the process you just described of what we decide we want to see, that is also affected by your limiting beliefs. So if you don't believe that you could ever be a public speaker, you're not going to be. If you don't believe you could ever be an entrepreneur or affect other people, guess what? That's exactly what happens. So I lived in that space of very deep, very embedded limiting beliefs for most of my life until I discovered several processes that I'd like to share. So may I go ahead and do that?
Please, I'm very excited.
Okay, great. I was one of these people, grew up very traditional household, went to college, went to professional school, did the whole career thing, thought I was, doing great, but never was happy. It's a very common story. So I started getting into personal development, and I have a confession to make. I think I became addicted to it. because every new course, every new person that had this, that promised that, I mean, I was there, front row and center. And, you know, you learn a lot that way and you pick up a lot, but you never really change yourself, or at least I didn't. It was all surface level, intellectual, but not deep change. And the thing that really, really helped me start to make that deep change and that interpersonal journey was meditation. And meditation has gotten a lot of press. It's on the cover of Time and Newsweek, and all the celebrities are meditating. But what I found is meditation combined with two other things can change your life. And so I created this process called heart dancing. And it's a way to connect with yourself through meditation. You then communicate your emotions, feelings, whatever's going on through journaling. And finally, you're clear enough that what you create is authentically you. Because that's really what we're trying to do. We're all trying to be seen. Well, but before someone else can see us, we have to see ourselves. Mm-hmm. So that's the focus of my work. And that's just a real brief explanation of heart dancing. I've written a book, a fictional book. That's a fun read if you like fiction. And then I've got several courses I can talk about as well.
Oh, nice. And I love how a couple of the points that you really talk about, you know, I once did a video where I talked about how that logic was the lie and magic was the truth. And what I'm really talking about in there is that we have this ideal in the Western world that the mind, that the brain is the important one. That, you know, it has all the information. When really, you know, with the Heart, was the Heart Institute and the Heart Math
Yes.
Institute and these other things that have really been done, we find out that there's more energy, there's more electromagnetic forces, there's more really knowledge and knowing it happens in the heart space really than in the mind. And the mind's almost a follower of the heart rather than the heart being a follower of the mind. I mean, I listened to a study one time where they showed images on a screen, and the heart actually responded a second before or millisecond before the image actually appeared. So the heart actually anticipates and knows what's about to come. And that's something that the mind can only try to do, you know what I mean? So
Right.
how you call that heart dancing. I'd like you to
Well,
a little bit.
And thank you so much for bringing that up. Did you know that the heart is the first organ that develops in an embryo?
Wow.
It's the first organ, not the brain, the heart. And, you know, all the blood is going to the heart until it becomes developed, and then everything else goes from there. But we've lost sight of that. The heart is where you live. The heart is where you feel authentic and real. The heart is where your intuition lies. But the problem with the heart is communicating with it, because it doesn't speak in language. It speaks in energy and vibration and images, but not language. And so when you say that the intellect, we favor the intellect over the heart, I express this as we favor the intellect over intuition. And we've lost that ability to dive into ourselves and listen to our intuition, because when you get to that point where you can hear your intuition, you will always make the right choice for you. You will always make the right decision that upholds your own truth. So that's kind of my mission. I'm so glad you said that. That's my mission, is to get people to reconnect to that space inside of them where they are loved, they are worthy, and they are definitely seen. And then you move out from that and create what you were meant to create, your expression of that embodiedness.
And, you know, and I think that that intuition and love has kind of gotten sort of a bad rap, especially right now with the I don't know if I really want to bring it up too much, but with the white supremacist movements really coming up, I hear a lot of people that are saying, you know, I want to hear more than just love. I want to see people doing something in action. So I started thinking of like love in action. And I want to, maybe we can really touch upon that, you know, love and intuition. It's not all just this like peace and flowers and, you know, it's really, it actually is a force to be reckoned with. It's a force that you know, I mean, if you think of like a mother's love, well, you take a mother bear and her cubs are being attacked, you know, it's all about love, but baby, she's going to tear you up. Let's talk about how love actually has teeth, how love, you know, can be boots on the ground. Do you know what I mean? Is there something we can talk about there?
Sure. To me, we're all love. We're embodied love, but we've forgotten that. So what is love? It's not an emotion. It's not a feeling. It's more of a state of being.
It's
And
being.
yeah, it's being, BEING, with the BE capitalized. Because remember, we are human beings. But to me, we focus on the human part, which I equate to the intellect, and the being part we've forgotten about. So it's that shift to showing up as your being in your human form. That's love.
Nice. What about you, Agnes? What would you say?
Yeah, it's very interesting what you're saying, because a few hours ago, I did an interview of Nicola Grace, who's also a change maker, and it's one of the topics that we covered, and we did talk about attraction ending with action, because it's this interesting balance, and that's what I focus on in my work, of the left brain and the right brain. It is about all the coming from a place of love, and coming from a place of the heart and the intuition. But if you don't do anything with it, if you just wait, nothing happens. You need to turn it concretely into something if you want to see results, in particular if you have a vision that's far bigger than yourself. So that's what I find really interesting in this whole, everything that you're just describing. The type of people that I tend to work with, and that's probably again because of my corporate background and the way I'm myself, tend to be very rational. And then what I am working with them, my business is called Success on Your Own Terms. So whatever success means to you, but on your own terms, meaning not at any cost. So what works for you, and how can you reconnect to who you are, what's important to you, put yourself in the driver's seat of your life, and hence also the link with personal branding. It's not just about building a business, it's about building an authentic business that really combines your being with your doing. It's all working together. So all of that, there is not just one side against the other. It's how do you make all of that work together so that it does give you the result you want. But it is for me of vital importance. And so these rational people, when I start working with them on what is your vision, how do you want to contribute, stuff like that, the answers always come from the head. And then I say, stop, turn that off. We are not working with our head. We are only working with our heart, with our intuition. That's where the answers need to come from. And it's interesting, Catherine, what you had mentioned about your journey, how you came to it. I have been a courses junkie. I have spent fortunes, but exactly in the way you describe it, that is scratching the surface, piling up knowledge, data, I would say, and then when things shifted for me is when at some point I had to leave a toxic relationship and lost absolutely everything in the process. And then instead of stepping into victimhood, I started thinking, wait a moment, we are creating our own reality. So what has been my role in there? And from that moment on, I started to look inside as opposed to continuing what I had done for a decade, looking for answers outside of me. And that has shifted everything. And from then on, I started embracing making conscious choices. And focus is about making conscious choices completely.
Well, thank you. If I could say something, Pete, because that was so beautifully said, Agnes. When you said that you made the conscious choice after you left that relationship not to be a victim, that is so huge. That is a pivot point. And for people to be aware that they're at that pivot point and they do have a choice, that's where all the possibilities come up. And that's where you shift and grow and evolve into a bigger and better and grander you. If you had chosen the victimhood route, we wouldn't be having this conversation today.
Oh, no, definitely not. There has been a before and after for me.
Yes.
And so I thought that for 1 decade, I was already going through so much personal development and growth. But in reality, nothing compared to what happened the moment I decided that I was taking charge and that I was looking inside.
Well, congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
And I got this visual when you were talking about being and doing, Anya. It's almost of like one being the right eye and one being the left eye, and how those two come together to create, that's what gives you, the two eyes together is what gives you depth, perception, perspective. And really, we're using those two, really as equals. I mean, that's just was a really cool graphic that came to my mind. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I love it. But that's why I keep insisting on the fact that if you want to be true to a vision and a mission bigger than you, then definitely it cannot be only action, and it cannot be only love and or intuition, however you want to describe it. For me, you really need the combination of both, which is why quite often people who are interested in the law of attraction will complain that it's not working, but they are just trying to raise vibrations and waiting. That doesn't work. You need to actually be doing something. And that's when Nicola this morning in her interview said, you remember what the 6 last letters are of attraction. It is action.
Right. And that's really scary for people, isn't it?
Hmm?
Well, and if I could add something to that, Pete, to me, heart dancing is clearing up that left side, all those limiting beliefs, all the thoughts that are holding you back, and then allowing the right side, non-language, but very creative, very intuitive side to come forth. So it's the integration of your past and your future into the present moment. And I've just, if I could add this, I have created a course called Heart Dancing Your Destiny. It's a 4-week online course. And it's those 3 steps I told you about before of connecting, communicating, and creating. But it adds in, of course, law of attraction and setting intentions. And the combination of those within that course during the 4 weeks, at the end, there's a meditation that's meet your future self. And you basically write this script of your intention in the future and then meditate on it. And it is so powerful. So I just wanted to add that, because that to me is also an action step. When you can see yourself where you want to be, you will get there. You will absolutely get there. So that's kind of the next step of what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't focus unless you know what you're going to focus on. And it's so interesting.
My very first step is vision. You need to have a very clear vision. And I would not be where I am today if I would not have had that. Because, Catherine, you may not know, but 2 years ago, I arrived homeless with 2 suitcases in London at 58. But I had a very clear vision of what I wanted to achieve. And I'm there. And it works.
And I remember you on this. I remember talking to you during that time frame. And I just, you were so... I don't want to start crying, but you were so courageous. You were so, sorry. I mean, I could feel, your fear. Well, I'm not going to say I could feel your fear, but I could sense, but you just so boldly walked into that. Cause I mean, honestly, I'm 53, I'm about to turn 54. So, and I'm at this point of where I'm sort of restarting over again too, without really a whole lot really backing me up. And it can be a very daunting, scary.
It is very scary, but I think that when I always say, and I consciously share the story because of the power of sharing stories. It's the inspiring part. A lot of people think that it's not possible, and that's coming back, Catherine, to your comment about limiting beliefs. If we stay in a place of limiting beliefs, well, I could not have done that. I had this unwavering faith that the universe had my back, and still has my back, and I knew what I wanted to make happen. So every single time I was in a place of fear, and of course that happened more than once, waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with a pounding heart of, oh my God, how will I reach tomorrow? It is to constantly think, okay, 2 options here. Either you focus on the fear and it will get worse and worse and worse. It will completely paralyze you, or you focus on the vision, and that is that's the driver. That's how you make things happen, and that makes all the difference. So it's all coming back constantly on focus. What do you choose to focus on?
Yes, exactly. And I have heard a different definition of fear. Everyone has heard the false evidence appearing real. You've heard that definition. But there's another definition, forgetting to express abundant reality.
Oh,
And that's
wow.
all fear is.
That's
You're forgetting, you're forgetting to express abundant reality. And abundant reality is all around us, but when you're in fear, you cannot see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I love your example, Agnes, that you made, again, that conscious choice. And we all have that conscious choice in every moment. And that's where our power is, in the moment. It's not going over the past events and saying, oh, that didn't work, so it's not going to work again, or forgetting the future. It's saying, what can I do now in the present moment with my power and authenticity and what I can bring to the moment.
And I'm sure you won't contradict me on that one, both of you, is that talking about living in the moment. In the moment, I constantly was grateful for what I had, because even when we think we have nothing left, there is always stuff to be grateful for. And I was waking up happy every single day, and I have since. And it wasn't much. It was, I have 1 week of house sitting. I have a roof for 1 week. Well, it wasn't one, it was two. but there's always stuff to be grateful for. And daring ask for help was another one, because then you can start seeing also how many people are ready to help. And I was grateful for the help that I was getting, because I was getting amazing help. And
that's one thing that I do. If I feel myself going into fear, I immediately switch to what can I be grateful for in this moment. And it totally dissolves the fear. The fear is just an illusion, but we get inside of it and believe it's true. But gratitude can immediately take you out of that. So that's a great example.
You know what my definition is of fear? It is the anticipation of something that may happen, but that probably won't. And if you start looking at that, the moment you're in fear, I always say the very first step is to ask yourself, what is it that I'm afraid of? And then you come up with whatever answer. And then the next step is to ask yourself, is it true that it will happen? Well, you can't know. It hasn't happened yet. And then you start thinking, oh, wait a moment. Maybe I'm the one standing in the way.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
That is, and it's so interesting how when you talk to people, they always have this idea of, oh, yes, I know what I want, but then you ask them to describe it and they can't describe it. So that's really what we're talking about, is in order to even be able to focus, really, maybe we should have started the first show on vision. You can't really focus unless you know what you're focusing upon. So that's really a vital part of this. I love that you brought that up, Agnes. That's amazing.
I had created for me, it's the very first step that I work on. And I had created a vision board back in my days when I was in France. And of course I couldn't, it was a big one, an A0 one, sorry. And I couldn't take it with me with my 2 suitcases, but I was missing it. And I asked my sister to take a picture of it. And I had a printer here printed on a foam board. And I have it in my room. So where is it? Over there.
Oh, look.
Nice.
And it's the same size. It's just huge. And when I see how much of it I've achieved already since I'm here, it's just amazing.
Oh, that's one of the most amazing things I have. I have my partner and I, we just celebrated our 6 months. And before I met him, I had this one of those big, I'm putting my hands there so you can see, one of those big sticky papers, you know what I'm talking about? Like a sticky notes, but the big ones. Yeah. And I'd written on it 8 aspects that I wanted my partner to have. And the first time he saw it, he freaked out. He's like, oh my gosh, that's me. And so every time he brings a friend over, he takes them over to it. He says, look, Pete did this before he ever met me. Here it is right now. But I have 2 others that I've done, like different goals and stuff like that. It's interesting how I've achieved most of them. And then some of them I'm going to change. Some of them are no longer relevant. So I think it's about being able to also keep your vision constantly, moving and dynamic with you, not being like stuck on, well, this is what I wanted 10 years ago. I still need to achieve. Maybe you don't need to achieve that anymore.
You've changed.
Maybe changed. And I also think, because what's the formula for happiness? It's perceived reality minus expectations. And so, I think it's really important to realize that sometimes when you have these expectations, sometimes the universe is going to bring you things that you never even thought of that might be way cooler than what you had expected. So it's being open to what does get, that's definitely through gratitude, is being really kind of, open to that. Another thing that you really touched on, Catherine, I loved, was the part about authenticity. I think that's so important. And maybe that should even be before the vision, because how can you know what your vision is unless you're being authentic? We might have to make this show number 1C and go back and do 1A and 1B to fill it in.
Hey, you know what? We're co-creating together. I love it. That's so cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. But
that's why I love meditation, because you do connect to your authentic self. If you have a daily meditation practice, whether it's just sitting in stillness or using guided meditations like I do, you discover that you're good, you're okay. Everything you thought about yourself is just those false illusions. And once you can stand in that place of authenticity, watch out, world, because you will come out with what you're supposed to create. And it's just an amazing process. And you call your power back to yourself, basically.
Right.
With all the limiting beliefs, you're really giving away your power. And so when you can reconnect with yourself through meditation and then these other processes, you are powerful in and of yourself, and you don't have to show that to people. There's no comparison. There's no, that person's bigger, better, and more knowledgeable than I am. You stand in your own power and your own knowledge and offer that to others. And it's an amazing place to be. It's taken me a long time. Of course, I'm still working on it. I don't have the dramatic image of, being homeless with 2 suitcases, but I was more homeless emotionally, if that makes sense, because I wasn't connected to myself. So, both of them are powerful. Both of them are very painful. Both of them are filled with so much fear, but you can move through that when you get that connection to yourself, with yourself, and with the higher, whatever you call the higher energy, the higher good, the source, the divine, God, Yahweh, whatever you call that to me is the first step. So we all approach this differently, but the people who are listening to this vodcast will hear what they need to hear. So I'm expressing it one way. Agnes is expressing another. If Sandra was here, she'd be expressing it a different way, but that's okay, because we're all personal flavors of the divine, of God.
Right.
And the interesting thing is that we are saying the same thing. We just say differently, but we are absolutely saying the same thing. We are all talking about authenticity. We're all talking about vision. We're all talking about you have to overcome your limiting beliefs and you have to know yourself, and etc. So just, it's how we express it that it's different, but makes such a difference.
Yeah, and sometimes, what can be the catalyst for it is something like Project Positive Change, where you can be around, because I can tell you, y'all, this, just being with you this morning has really just, it's enlivened me, and I'm just getting shivers on my shoulders right now, which, is kind of my sign from spirit of like everything is cool. Actually, I found there's a term for it, frisson. I never knew, and I hope I'm saying that right.
Frisson. Frisson, yeah.
Frisson? I hope I'm saying it right.
I've never heard that. What is it?
Frisson is when you get a shiver.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always it's almost like I feel the angels like dancing on my shoulders. It's like the energy is like it's like, oh, okay, that's the term for it. So now I know the term. But what I was going to say is, as a catalyst, one thing that can really help is to be around like-minded people. That can, because so many times, like say for me, for you, Agnes, or me for you, Catherine, I can see things for you that you can't see in yourself, and y'all can do the same for me, so we can kind of call out our brilliance. And it's interesting because Agnes's program is called, I forget what you called it, Step into Brilliance? Or what?
Step into your brilliance.
Yeah, mine's Boost Your Brilliance. So it's interesting how we're both using the term brilliance.
Yeah.
But if you're at a point where you don't see the potential in yourself, I think it's really important to be among other mindset people that can see it in you and then call it forth, and almost be like the catalyst or the beginner, almost like priming the pump, for your own authentic person to come out. And first of all, I think it really comes down to the permission you have to give yourself to be authentic in who you are, because we have sort of this vision. I know, in my childhood, the only thing that really taught me how to be was Brady Bunch. I had a terrible childhood, so and so I had these visions of what life was, but it was really interesting in my 40s when I finally stopped being mad at myself, and I finally stopped condemning myself, others stopped condemning me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. You know, it's like you teach the world how to treat you. You teach the world and tell the world in every moment who you are. And I always think of, like, you know, when you step into a room that you've never been in before with people you've never met before, you at that moment have the opportunity to reinvent yourself right there, because those people don't know who you are. And that's kind of like how we are in every moment in our life. You know, we have that moment to really decide who, because, you know, Tony Robbins does this really interesting thing, or he talked about it one time, where he would have people come in for a counseling session. They would start crying and talking about all these bad things. And he'd say, wait a second, I got to go get this, whatever, phone call or something. And they would instantly stop and kind of change. And he would come back and he'd say, do you see how you changed? See how you were
Really?
change who you were in this very moment. So you have the power to change. You know what I mean? So I just thought that, I always think of that all the time. You know, when I start getting my little mopey thing, I'm like, come on, Pete, you know, you've got the power to do this. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, I sound like a promoter of Project Positive Change. That's because I am. I think that I think it's something like that, you know, is a great way for you to be able to really raise up your mindset. So we're going to offer, you know, either a product or something, or I don't know if it could be. Y'all want to talk about what you're offering today? Catherine, you first, or?
Sure. No, I'm happy to. What I'm offering is the first 7 people who contact me because they've listened to this podcast. I'll spend about 15 or 20 minutes with them, kind of talking about, you know, what they're struggling with or what their issues are. And then we'll send them a day or two later a personalized guided meditation that will hopefully help them move through those issues, see them for what they really are, and move back to their authentic self. So a personalized guided meditation is what my free offer is to the first 7 people.
Nice. And you have such a smooth, even tone voice. I can just imagine you just kind of like taking us on this little journey.
Yeah, exactly. It's, and I've taken people to very different places.
Nice.
It's just whatever comes through as I'm recording the meditation. And typically it really matches the energy of the person I'm making it for. It's an amazing process, and I love being part of it.
I love that. Agnes, what about you? What would you like to bring to the people here?
I have an assessment that has that wears a very wrong name. I need to change that. I want to change that. It says, "Are you business ready?" In fact, it's far more than that, because I have a holistic approach, and I don't believe that I can cut a person in 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. We are looking at every single area of your life, including your business, including how you stay focused. There's a whole thing around personal effectiveness. And it's helping you assess where you're at in all those pieces, because in reality, you need all of that to work in order to actually be able to achieve what it is that you want to achieve in your life and of your life. So it's a lot of questions. There are, I think, not far from 100 questions, but it's very quick because you know all the answers. But the outcome is really interesting. When you start seeing, it helps you see where you could be focusing on to make things move forward.
I love it. And I'm almost thinking of the graphics for this show being a pair of eyeglasses. And explain this a little bit more, Kathy, because you had the clearer vision. So the right side would be the intuitive, is that right? And the left would be the logic, or?
Yes. Yeah, that's the way our brains work. Our brains, the left side is the language learning, intellect, rational reasoning side. And the right is the creative, free form, difficult to describe. I believe that intuition comes from your authentic self, higher self. And the way it's interpreted, the way it moves through you is through your creativity, through your right side. So if that helps. And Pete, I love what you said. There's a quote by Henry David Thoreau that's basically, it's the basis of my work. It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see. And what you see is determined by what you see on the inside. So my goal is to help people design their life, their dream life, their best life from the inside out. You work on the inside, and then your life will reflect that on the outside, as you mentioned.
Nice. I like it. And I like this color coordination y'all got going on. Maybe we should make color schemes for the show or something.
I was just even thinking it's funny because you have the two blues, but the blonde one and the dark one.
I should dye my hair red.
Yeah.
Learn blue too. Not much to do though. All righty. Well, any final thoughts today?
I've just enjoyed this. Let's do this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really like this. I love the how do you call that in English? The
Collaboration.
No, it's about combining different perspective about the same topic. People who, what I was describing earlier on about, we believe in the same things. In fact, we are working on the same things, but it's those different angles that are so interesting because, as you say, certain people will resonate with one message and some others will resonate with another message, as long as the core is still the same. And that's what PPC is about.
Right. Well, cool. Well, this has been me here, Pete Kospin, Agnes van Rijn. I hope, did I say that right? Agnes van Rijn?
Yeah, Agnes van Rijn, yeah.
Awesome. And Catherine Erickson. We're of Project Positive Change. Sandra couldn't be with us today, but she'll be on a future show, I'm sure. The focus of this has been on focus. So we've gone with some different things, vision and authenticity have been some other things that we really talked about. But this has been a great first show. I appreciate you two being on here with me. And if anybody has any questions or anything, go to projectpositivechange.com. Or Agnes, want to give out your website?
Yes, my website is agnesvanrijn.com. So that is ANYESVANRHIJN.com. And it's a shame that in the website address you cannot see that I spell my first name with a capital Y, ANYES, because I live in a world of possibilities. Nice.
What about you, Catherine? How can people contact you?
Go to CatherineErickson.com, and Catherine is Kathryn. Erickson is spelled the Danish way, which is ERIKSEN. So CatherineErickson.com. That's the hub of all my activities. And I forgot to mention, I've got a 3-part 7-day video course. If you sign up for my email, I forgot to mention that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, on heart dancing. So hope everybody comes. My mission is to make the world have as many people join heart dancing as possible and become themselves. Let's all get real, and all these problems we hear in the world will absolutely go away.
I love it.
Thank you, Pete.
Oh, absolutely. And for right now, I'm just on Facebook, Pete Kosovoon. So maybe the future date I'll have something else going on. I mean, I got lots of things, but as far as like where to go find me is Pete Kosovoon on Facebook. So anyway, thank you guys so much for being on here.
Thank you.
Talk to y'all soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.